Recording stopped. Good morning, Ufaba and members. I'm just testing. Apologies, I'm just testing to see if I'm audible. Thank you.
Good morning. You are audible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good morning, honourable colleagues on the platform. I wish to greet the Honourable Shabango, the Honourable Chauke Aduenes, the Honourable Peterson, and the Honourable Polwane. Let me just see if other members have joined. Honourable Mayalola, you are welcome. Good morning, honourable members. Good morning to our support team. Good morning to Dr. Lewitz, present. I think we will quickly deal with the agenda, and apologies. Mr. Dumisweni, please.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good morning to you, members and colleagues. Chair, the agenda indicates that tomorrow we're going to be receiving an update on the the application process of the National Council on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide, which will be tabled by the Secretariat. Secretariat includes the content advisor and researchers as well. Then thereafter, we have got Constitutional and Legal Services, who will be briefing the committee on the criteria for the National Council on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide appointments. Then there is also a revised fourth-term program that has been amended, so the committee will be considering and adopting that program, and also the closure, Chair. Then coming to apologies, Chair, we have received an apology from Honorable Mbiko. She unfortunately got robbed yesterday, so I got a message last night indicating that her phone was smashed and grabbed. She was a victim of smash and grab here in Cape Town. I don't have further details besides that, so there is that. And also Honorable Kanyile sent an apology indicating that she's not feeling well. And therefore she won't be
recording in progress.
Of the meeting. Honorable Sotetsi indicated that he's got an academic commitment this morning. However, if he happens to join, he will leave the meeting earlier, Chair. And also we received the apology from the Minister responsible for women, the presidents. She's attending the social summit of the G20, Chair. So far, those are the apologies that we have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dumisweni. Good morning as well to Honourable Mkhunu. I'm sure we are okay with the apologies as tabled. I did meet Honourable Mbiko as I came into Parliament, and she is on her way to the police to hand in her statement. She's also hurt. It looks like she's got some scarring on her arms. So we do wish her well. It was an unfortunate incident where she was robbed just outside of the airport yesterday of her devices, and she had to try and fight off the robbers because they were also trying to take her other belongings. So we do wish her a speedy recovery. Colleagues, in front of you is the agenda for this morning. Please may I take hands for a mover and a seconder? Honourable Mabel, you're also welcome.
Chair.
Morning, Honourable.
Morning. Yes, good morning, Chair, and good morning, all members and our officials. I move for the adoption of the agenda for today's meeting. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Honourable Pulwane. Honourable Chauke Aduenas.
Thank you very much, Chair. Greetings to yourself and honourable members and any officials and our support staff and those who are joining us on various platforms. I therefore second the adoption of the agenda. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, colleagues. Colleagues, yes, you are all very welcome this morning. Welcome also to anybody following us on the social media platforms. I wish to welcome our own support team, Mr. Dumizweni, Ms. Abrams, Ms. Levendal, Ms. Matthews, Ms. Silly, Ms. Landu. Colleagues, this morning will be a very short briefing. As you know, the applications to serve on the National Council on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide closed on the 7th of November. Next week, on the 25th of November, as per our adopted fourth-term program, we will meet here in Parliament to shortlist candidates to serve on the National Council on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide. You will recall in the previous briefings that we have received, we will need to identify, or we are responsible as a committee to identify 7 members from civil society and business to serve on this council. So next week then, at the start of the 16 Days of Activism campaign, we will go through the process of shortlisting. Thereafter, interviews will hopefully take place in the second week of February. We hope to table a report to the National Assembly with our recommended candidates at the end of February. And that then will be in line with the time frame the President gave us, whereby he said that funds for this council will be available at the start of the next financial year. But I thought it important, honourable colleagues, that this morning we meet, to receive a briefing on how many applicants or applications did we receive, how many of those are persons with disabilities, just an overview on the candidates that applied, that made themselves available to serve. We will also just be reminded by Dr. Lutz about the criteria in the Act in terms of shortlisting. And there are other considerations we have to take this morning. For example, what do we do with incomplete applications? What do we do with applications that came after the cutoff time? How many people do we want to shortlist? Because as I've mentioned, we need 7 people. So we need to also then take a resolution formally this morning on how many people we would like to shortlist. So those are some of the discussions, but I'm going to hand over now to Ms. Abrams and Mr. Dumizweni to take us through the applications received, an overview of the applications, and then just take us into some of the questions we have to consider before we'll hand over to Dr. Lutz also to give us just some guidance as well. Good morning as well to Dr. Leklape. Over to you, Ms. Abrams and Mr. Dumizweni.
Good morning, Chairperson and members. I'm going to start with the overview. So as Chairperson's indicated, what we have, members would have received an Excel sheet. The Excel sheet is a list of all the applications via email, online, and which was submitted in person in the box in 120 plain. What I'll go through with members now is to highlight what I received in the early hours of this morning and was able to provide some level of information. Mr. Dumizweni would need to clarify some matters, which I will highlight as I go through. In terms of the numbered applications, members, in the application, in the Excel spreadsheet, these have been numbered starting from NC National Council 01 to NC 398. We just need to reiterate that the reason why we're not putting the Excel sheet up on the screen is that in terms of personal information, the addresses would appear and telephone numbers, and for that reason it's not on the screen, but members would have access to all the information that has been documented. With respect to online applications, these are all applicants from NC01 to NC 322. In terms of email and box applications, this starts from NC 323 to 398. Mr. Dumizweni would need to indicate the number of email applicants that was received and the number of applications that were received in the box that was at 120 Plain. Members, I've also highlighted in this Excel spreadsheet the very first question, which on the online application, which all applicants were expected to answer, was the question about are they aware that with respect to this particular application process for this particular position, it is not a salary weighted position. Mr. Dumizeni would just indicate where for the email and box applications, which him and his colleague physically typed in, whether it's no, I've highlighted yellow, he would just need to clarify whether the applicant actually indicated to the first question no. Secondly, in terms of ID, where there was no ID submitted, again, this is highlighted in yellow. Mr. Dumizweni can just provide some clarity around that in terms of the emails that were received. In terms of repeat applications, these have been highlighted in red in the column under the ID, which is column G. There were 79 duplications, or in other words, one applicant may have applied more than once, twice, or thrice. And this includes where Mr. Dumizweni has indicated NA not applicable. There were 4. You would just need to provide clarity in that regard. So around the repeat applications, just to reiterate, members, of the 398, we looked at where an applicant with the same ID number appeared more than once. In other words, the applicant may have applied more than once online or sent an email more than once. And that can also just be clarified with Mr. Dumizweni. With respect to disability members, there were in total 19 applicants based on the information that's been sent to me and that's available. That's on the Excel sheet. This is in orange. 2 applicants indicated physical disability, 5 deaf persons, 1 with fibromyalgia, 1 epilepsy, 2 persons either visually impaired or blind, 1 ADHD, 1 partially sighted albinism, 1 autistic person, 1 indicated disability but did not specify, 1 indicated depression, 1 dwarfism, 1 neurodiverse, which indicates autism and ADHD, and 1 with lupus. So in total, members, of the information that we do have that's available, there are 19 applicants with disability. I've also highlighted in members areas in green where there's no information available. So in other words, we have the applicant's name, surname, and ID, but the rest of the information is not there, and that it's blank. So Mr. Dumizweni can just indicate to members in terms of that, whether the applicant just did not submit the information or whether the information would still need to be included in the Excel spreadsheet. As chairpersons indicated, before we go to Dr. Lewis, and Mr. Dumizweni provides some clarity information for members. 1 is to consider the late applications. In other words, applications that have been sent after the closing date, after that particular midnight deadline. Also, with respect to duplicates, In the event that an applicant applied more than once, would the members then just focus on the last submission of the applicant to consider their information? Thirdly, in terms of information that's required, for example, ID, academic qualifications, in the event that the information is not there, what are the implications? The advert also indicated, and the application form, where documents needed to be certified within 3 months. This is members had requested when we adopted the application form. Another consideration is where documents have been sent but it's unclear. And then as chairpersons noted, the total number for members to consider to shortlist to be interviewed. And that's particularly key in terms of next week when we decide on and look at the shortlisting process in terms of how many should be shortlisted and interviewed. Chairperson and members, thank you very much. That concludes my side. I'll hand over to Mr. Dumizweni to provide those issues of clarity before we hand over to Dr. Lewis. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Abrams. We'll come back to that slide when all the presentations are done. Good morning to the Deputy Minister as well. Over to you, Mr. Dumizweni.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you to my colleague. Chair, I would love to indicate that when we started this process, there is an email address that was created for specifically for these applications. So the information that's being provided here emanates or is coming from that email that has been specifically created for this email. So the mailbox had about 174 emails. Of the 174 emails, we check the emails and we realize that some of the emails that were sent are not necessarily the applications. Some would just send an ID without any message. Others would just bring a complaint. So we checked and found that out of that 174, there are 75 emails that we would regard as applications on the basis that is the information whereby an ID and CV is attached, and then you start to understand, okay, this is the application, and then we consider it as application. Hence, we've got this 75. And out of that 75, Chair, we've got about 7 emails or applications that were received beyond or after the deadline. So there is that. And coming to the issue of no, which Ms. Abrams referred to on the application, there was a form, and a form indicated clearly that if someone agrees to all the processes that are linked to this process, he must sign the form and say, I agree. So in most cases, what has happened with the email is that we received applications without the application forms being attached. So someone would just send a nomination letter or would just send a form, a CV without any form. So we had that, and also we've got about 41 people who have applied to send the applications without the application forms that were there, that were supposed to download before. And also we have experienced a situation where we had 3 people who I understand them as nominators, but then they would submit applications on behalf of the persons or of the people whom they are supposed to be nominating. So others, Chair, have submitted IDs that were certified maybe in 2024, and the instruction was that the stamp or the certification should be or must be within 3 months. So another thing is that, Chair, when it comes to not applicable, in most cases is that when someone submits a CV or just an ID, it's really difficult to tell whether this person has got disability or not. And also on the basis of gender and race, some do not even specify, some do not even give the physical address and everything. So the form would then assist in that case, because when they specify that I live with disability, I'm this race and that and that. So a fail or non-submission of that forms has led into a situation whereby there is a number of not applicable, because you cannot tell whether there is a disability case, whether the race is this, the female, the pronoun, and all that stuff. So I hope to have covered a number of things. If there's anything that I'm missing, I'll always come back. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dumisweni. Just tell me, how many complete applications do we have?
Well, so far, Chair, I think maybe the committee will assist in this, because I'm not sure if an application that is submitted without the application form is regarded as application. But like I said, we received 75. We have got 68 that are standing as applications. But in that 68, those 68 applications, there are these cases of outstanding information, like the form has already indicated. But what we've captured as what we are understood to be standing as an application, of course, 68 when you exclude the duplications.
Does this include the ones that we received on the online platform? So we've only got 68 applications.
No, Chair. I'm basing on email and postal, Chair. So it's email.
I'm asking what is the total complete applications? So in other words, the ones that we received through the online platform, plus the email ones.
If Chair, my calculations are correct, I think we are sitting at 295 applications so far, Chair. No, it's about 355, sorry, Chair. That's if my calculations are correct. I've got 355 applications.
Complete applications?
Yes, Chair.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Dumisweni. I'm now going to Honorable Shabango.
Sorry, Chair, I'm not clear before you pass, because from the very same question that you are asking, I'm sorry to interject that, because Mr. Mvaba said 68, including those that did not submit applications and application forms and IDs. So this 300, your question was asking complete applications. I don't know whether I got it wrong, but I think that question is not clearly answered. Thank you.
Thank you, Mhlonishwa. I think we're going to, yes, Mvaba, just check your Excel spreadsheet. Just check the numbers. In other words, in terms of complete applications, so there's an ID, there's an application form, there is the requisite documents that needed to be attached. So just make sure while we hand over to Dr. Lewis, just get us the correct figure for the complete applications, please. Dr. Lewis, good morning again to you, and thank you for availing yourself to be with us. I know we changed the program at the last minute to have this briefing, but if you can just speak to us, Dr. Lewis, again about the shortlisting criteria, about the purpose of the council, and then maybe just if you can talk to us about what do we do with regards to incomplete applications and applications that do not have the requisite documentation. Do we automatically exclude them? Or do we, for example, attempt to ask them to submit the application form, or is it a complete disqualification at this stage? So if you can just provide some information before we actually debate the issues that we have to take resolutions on this morning. Over to you, Dr. Lewis.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, honourable members and colleagues. Chair, yesterday I made some talking notes, so I'm sharing that just as I hope that might assist members while I'm speaking to the issues. Chair, it's section 6.5, subsection 5 that we also quoted in the advert sets out the appointment criteria. So we're talking about fit and proper persons must be able to hold the office. That usually, everybody says that's a very vague criteria. It's found in most legislation when you appoint somebody to a board, but that basically means we need to appoint honest people with integrity. So although it's not defined, it's applied and interpreted with due regard to the circumstances and context of an appointment. The person or their standard of conduct is weighed against what is expected action-wise of somebody who would serve on a board or a council. They must be of good character. They must be reliable if appointed. It's basically an integrity control that we have here. So someone of integrity has strong principles, isn't prone to acting dishonestly or abusing a situation or a system for personal gain, is not prone to irregular practices, and this is all aimed to prevent corruption and untrustworthiness. And it sounds very subjective, but the Constitutional Court has said that that it is an objective test because you are measuring it within a certain qualified context. So when the Portfolio Committee considers this requirement of fit and proper to hold office, members may be making or must make an objective value judgment as to the suitability of a candidate's character. And in the context of lawyers, because when we go onto a role, we must be fit and proper, the court has also said, just as an example, that this is a character screening process that prevents you from abusing the office you hold. So it's somebody who is there for the right reasons, is not just there to get a deep pocket or build up connections or abuse the board for or the council for own personal gain. So the information gathered through the public comments could be valuable here for the members, because members will obviously get input from the public on shortlisted candidates and their character and then members can interrogate the shortlisted candidates in interviews to ask the necessary questions that would help ease the mind that the candidates listed will be fit and proper in terms of integrity and character. Then, Chair, applicable knowledge and expertise is a little bit easier. It relates to the purpose of the Act and why we are nominating these people to serve. So it's a competence and capability focus. The members will be asking questions to see whether the nominated or shortlisted candidates can perform the required tasks. Do they have the necessary skill and experience to participate in this forum that is a sharing of information, that's a sharing of expertise for us to be able to develop policies on government side, because we have departmental representatives sitting on the council as well, to develop a strategy to address GBV. So when engaging with shortlisted candidates, the committee can consider their abilities with due regard to the purpose of the board that they must serve in. Here again, public comment as well as qualifications and experience that they shared with us in the application process will be of great value for measuring this. Then, Chair, there's a third requirement that says that we need to consider the demographics and the geographical spread of South Africa. Now, that's a snapshot of the country. So just in a bloated example, perhaps all 7 that must be appointed shouldn't just come from Cape Town. That type of idea. We must take at least a general snapshot of the country. In appointing for the board, there's no specific definition. So if no definition is given of a concept in an act, then we take the dictionary definition. And here demographic, we can see relates to the structure of population in different groups within a particular sector of the population, if so defined. You look at factors of age, income, background. So basically you do a cross-cut of the population, and that means your inhabitants in South Africa. So by way of example, a population census is the process of collecting and analyzing demographic, economic, social data. So when the committee then looks at the shortlisted candidate, it must be people that is representative of the general demographic, economic, social data of the country as well. So if we look at geographical, that's area and place, and it relates to industries, regions, etc. So your geographical spread is then a distribution or extent of something over different areas. Once again, there we look at population, resources, etc. So that's basically, if you look in the country, it's all avenues of life, not only rich people, not only young, not only old. You need to have like a balance of what is representative in South Africa. So think of it like when Statistics SA goes out and does a census of saying who draws from public resources. It will be all type of people in South Africa, from different social settings, from different economic settings, from different regional perspectives. So that's just to make sure that we don't just focus on one specific niche area in the country, but so that the board feels generally representative of the country itself when we take that snapshot. Chair, then the question of the possible question of applications that weren't as advertised. I looked at the advert and it said here, we said all applicants will be required to complete the online application or submit via email or by hand. We then also gave Mr. Dumisani's details, so people could contact them if they had questions or needed assistance. So we didn't just leave them out there to fend for themselves if they did not understand something. And we made it very clear that we do require certified copies of ID and academic. I have it as 6 months here when I copied it from the version I saw yesterday. So perhaps we can just check whether it's 6 months or 3 months between myself, Kashifa and Mvaba. But I had a discussion quickly with Advocate van der Merwe about this as well. So we did ask for a certain set of criteria in asking for this application form. So it was very clear that we needed certain questions answered. And like Mr. Dumisani pointed out, we need to know, especially now look at that demographic and geographical view is also required. We need to know something about these candidates to be able to make sure that we actually meet that requirement. So the Constitutional Court judgment that was recently in question and that we presented in the committee said that it must be a broadly accessible process. So we've done that. We've given extensive time. We've given extensive possibilities of how to nominate and apply, and we will as discussed by the committee in a previous meeting, also give extensive time for public comment. So we've met that criterion. We're keeping that at the forefront of our minds the whole time. But the Constitutional Court does not dictate how the committee runs its processes. As members know, Parliament has the power to regulate its own internal processes. And in this process, the committee has set a certain standard in the advert that was put out. And if you allow people not to just make up their own standard or apply as they want, that's not really fair towards everybody else that is applying in that standard. So late submissions, for example, say if I was sitting in front of my laptop and I recalled, oh, there was this application process and I wanted to nominate Kashifa, and I realized when I looked at the advert, oh, it's 1 a.m., and it's passed. The day has come and passed, and I then, because I know this is the standard, goes, I can't nominate anymore. But somebody else goes, 3 o'clock that same morning, they would like to nominate Mr. Dumisani, and they nominate him in any case. You now create a situation where there's a discrepancy, because there might be people who wanted to still nominate, but they were late, and they realized they missed the boat. And others now taking a chance and still getting in. So we need to have that element of fairness. If you look at the online form, and perhaps where the flexibility comes in, if somebody has the online form and they see everything that must be there, but they perhaps typed it out in their own version of a document and they submitted that, that's the same form for essence because the content is the same. And the content then was submitted at the right time. So that's basically is all the content that the committee requested in terms of the form there? Is all the documentation there? Was it done in a timely fashion as per the advert? Those are all things that helps ensure a measure of fairness so that everybody gets exactly the same opportunity to nominate and apply. So Chair, I hope that assists. That's just quick talking notes because we did fairly quickly put our heads together to comment on this. But I will also just to be of assistance for the committee share my talking notes with Mr. Dumasani and he can then circulate it as well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lutz. Colleagues, I am of the view that we should only consider full applications, in other words, complete applications. So we will not be considering any late applications, any incomplete applications, but we will hear your views on this matter. Also, I'm of the view that considering that we are looking for 7 candidates, that we should double that number to 14, and we can then consider 14 plus 2. So in other words, that we shortlist 16 candidates, like we did with the NYDA process. We also did double plus 2. But I'm going to take your hands, honourable members, for you to consider these items and then to give your inputs and to ask any questions if you've got any.
Chair.
Honourable Pulwani, followed by Honourable Chauke Aduenas, followed by Honourable Shabango. Over to you, Honourable Pulwani.
No, thanks very much, and good morning, everyone in the platform. Chair, maybe firstly, I want to support the number that you are suggesting for the shortlisting. But what I want to say is the CV that are sent on behalf of someone. My understanding is that at the deep rural area, because of the poverty, Chair, some of the people, they don't have the phone, that have the email. They are using the internet cafe, or some they ask someone to assist. I will suggest that if the law allow us, we must allow that application that they are sent on behalf of other people. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you so much, Honourable Pulwani. Honourable Chauke Aduenas. Honourable Chauke Aduenas. Honourable Shabango.
Apologies, Chairperson.
Okay.
I was struggling to unmute myself, so I do sincerely apologize for the delay. Greetings, and I would like to also just appreciate the submissions that were made and the presentation, and also support the number of 14 plus 2, which would be doubling and adding 2 to make it 16 shortlisted candidates that would then proceed with. I would also, Chairperson, perhaps in this case, ask that if necessary that an exception might be made like previously, so that we do not find ourselves restricted when going through the process. But I do support the number of double plus 2 as our standard number for the shortlisting of candidates. Secondly, Chair, I'm just slightly, and I would like to just, before I proceed, agree with Honourable Polwani in terms of the nomination process, because we do know when the nomination process were done, perhaps others were nominating other individuals, and additionally taking into account or into consideration that some were not doing the applications directly themselves in terms of their email addresses, but were using third-party assistance. I think what is important there is to really look at whether they are meeting all the criteria that have been established and set. And I appreciate the legal advice that was given that says that in order for us to have a fair and just process for all applicants, we must have an application that seeks to say what are the criteria that were set by the portfolio committees, and are all those criteria being met, so that we do not disadvantage any of the applicants, but at the same time we do not find ourselves wanting where there's a possible instance where we might be taken to court, perhaps for disadvantaging one over the other, because we did not follow a just process. So I would like to agree, and really, Chair, if we can look at those who followed the process, it was a clear instruction, a clear, clarent call, and also outlining what was required in order for one to qualify in this process, and therefore it required for them to submit all those forms. So as we have been advised, I think we must take that advice and proceed with it, and perhaps from that it would give us probably a smaller number, which is unfortunate, but it would give us a smaller number of applications that are valid. And then lastly, it would be on the late applications. I would like to say that the late applications should not be accepted at all, because we'd be then setting a very wrong precedent going forward. And I think I was saying lastly, but I think what we need to also look at, Chairperson, is looking at whether we will be in compliance, taking into consideration that we've got a process that we have had to review again of appointing a board for the Gender and Equity Council. Apologies for that. And therefore, we would want to make sure that in this process of shortlisting, there's nothing that we must be aware of that perhaps we need to rectify, and make sure that we follow through this process as we shortlist, that perhaps might not, that will ensure that we do not find ourselves disadvantaged and having to review and revert back in the process. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chake Aduenes. I just want to say that Mr. Dumisweni has confirmed that we've got 209 online, 16 email, and 1 postal full applications, complete applications. So that's 310 complete applications. So just for your information. Honourable Shabango.
Chair, thank you. I think widely covered by my colleagues, and also coming back with the number, because that is what was concerning me, that at least if we know the number of candidates that fully comply with the criteria, these stories of no ID and whatever, we're not going to compromise. We appreciate the advice that we've got, and I fully support that, because we should not open a window for a wrong precedent. We're not going to talk to late applicants. A closing date is a closing date. But also, if this number is for the applications that are complete to the core, even the certified copies that they are within 3 months, because we cannot compromise. People should take these things seriously. When you apply, you must put everything that is required according to the criteria. So I just wanted to check on the number when I interject earlier, because I wanted to make sure that, because as Mr. Mvaba was talking about 70 and the 60-something, I just wanted to make sure that we've got at least a widespread applicants that we will be able to select from. But I fully agree with my other colleagues that have spoken to this and the presentation that was done early, that we should fully comply with the criteria. We're not going to do any compromises. And also, I must also agree with the proposed number of shortlisting candidates, the 14 plus 2. I think that will suit us well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, honourable members. Okay, so we've got consensus that we will be shortlisting 14 plus 2. We have got 310 complete applications as per our records, and after this meeting, then Mr. Dumizweni and his team will just double check, go through all of the applications again, and just make sure that all the relevant documentation for each of those 310 candidates are available. Thereafter, honourable members, by this evening before you sleep, you will receive then the link to that 310 candidates. Maybe if there's 1 or 2 documents missing for some of those candidates, those the number might go down to 300, but for now I think Mr. Dumizweni is confident of the 310. We have said that we do not want a compromised process, so no half applications and no late applications will be considered. So I think those are the resolutions. Colleagues, then next week, you will be reminded that you must work through the 310 applications for the next week. And then we will follow the similar process to what we did with the NYDA. So I'm going to be calling on the 25th next week here in Parliament at a physical venue. I'm going to be calling your names according to the alphabet. So in alphabetical order, I will be calling your names, whereafter you will then read into the record your 16 candidates to be shortlisted. And you will not read them by name or surname. There will be a code attached to that name or surname. So in alphabetical order, I will call all of you, and you will then read into the record your 16 names. But after this meeting, Mr. Dumizweni will be in contact so that he shares all the candidates' information and all the relevant documentation for you then to scrutinize it over the next week, so that when we meet next week, Tuesday, that we are fully prepared and ready to shortlist our 16 candidates. Can I see if there are any further inputs from Mr. Dumizweni and from Ms. Abrams? Dr. Lutz? Okay. Honourable Chapter Adonis, I see, is that a list? Yeah? Are you fine, Mr. Dumizweni?
Thank you, Chair. I'm sorry that I couldn't raise my hand. No, it's okay, Chair. This information will further be supported. The thorough verification will be done this afternoon, and right information will be sent to members, Chair. In case there is something, I don't want to seem as if I'm misleading, but thorough investigation will be done, and thorough work will be done, and correct information and accurate information will be delivered to members. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Honourable Chauke Adwinis.
Oh, thank you very much, Chairperson. No, it was not a legacy hand. Chair, I just wanted to find out also from legal opinion, and perhaps from yourself as well, what are some of the implications of having some of the data that will then be shared with us being publicized? The reason why I'm asking this is that we know in the process of the NYDA, and according to the Papaya Act, we are not allowed to publicize or publish the shortlisted candidate names and details, etc. How can we make sure that we do protect the credibility of this process and the credibility of the members of the portfolio committee when we are receiving this confidential and sensitive information? Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chauke Adwinis. We will not be publishing all the information, so we will only publish what we are legally able to do. but Dr. Lewis can just speak to that. And I'm sorry that I'm keeping my camera off, but you know that I'm here in the Marx building and our Wi-Fi reception here is very unstable. So I just wish to apologize for that, colleagues. Over to you, Dr. Lewis, just to talk to us about what information we will be publishing and what we are not allowed to publish.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I'm just, for purposes of assisting, also flagging the adopted advert that Mvaba circulated for members. In terms of the CGE case, the court said that us, Parliament publishing a shortened version of a CV or something like that is not sufficient because there's a public duty on Parliament to facilitate public participation in all its processes. So not just legislation, also with such processes as of nomination. So what we'll do is in the ad, everybody who is nominating and applying knows that shortlisted candidates and their resumes will be published, and disclosure of personal information will be part of the package, but we will redact ID numbers, cell phone numbers, addresses, and things like that. So any way that may cause harm in that aspect we'll limit, but everything else on the CVs will be published online. So anyone applying knows that this is the standard, and by applying, therefore, you agree that you will have your CV out there in the public realm, because we need, as a public entity with a public duty, to make that information available as fully as possible to facilitate public participation. Otherwise, we'll be falling short of that constitutional requirement. So that's why specifically this aspect was put into the ad, so that everybody is fully aware of the fact that if they are shortlisted, to an extent, their information will be shared, but we'll keep addresses and cell phone numbers and such. We'll redact. I hope that assists. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. Honourable Chauke Adonis, I hope you're happy with that response. We will be working within the law. Okay. Colleagues, lastly, as I told you during the introduction, this is going to be a short meeting, but in essence, it's a meeting that prepares us for a very important meeting next week. I also wanted to share with you just the updated fourth term program, if we can just quickly fight that. Mvaba. Am I still in this meeting? Can you hear me?
Yes, Chair, we can hear you.
Okay, then maybe we've lost Mvaba.
Sir?
Okay. Yes.
Oh.
Thank you very much, Ms. Silly, for sharing the program with us. Colleagues, I just wanted to bring to your attention, if we scroll down, please. Can we scroll down? Yeah. Further down, please. Okay, so colleagues, this morning we made to discuss the shortlisting criteria number of people that we should shortlist. Please move up. That is our meeting of this morning. Then on Friday, we were set to attend a sanitary dignity colloquium to be hosted by the PC of Higher Education and Basic Education. It was scheduled to take place at the Good Hope Chamber. A new date. The reason for that is that on the 21st of March, as you know, there is going to be a number of gender-based violence, anti-GBVF activities and marches. So that item has been moved. to the new year and during the first term of Parliament of 2026. Then on Tuesday 25, we are meeting to shortlist our candidates. Mvaba will be sharing with you the documents this afternoon that you will work through in preparation for that meeting. He will also communicate with you what the venue for next Tuesday will be. Please scroll down. On the Wednesday, the next day during lunchtime, we will convene a special meeting to adopt our statutory rape report. As you know, that we have to report back to Parliament by 30 November. On Friday, the 28th, we are set to meet with the CGE, but it will be a short morning meeting from 8:30 till 10. But this is to be confirmed. I still need to confirm a few details with the speaker around that meeting. And then on the 2nd of December will be our last meeting of this term, colleagues. We will meet to adopt all of our outstanding minutes and reports. And we will also be receiving feedback on our constituency matters. It is also important to note that the National Assembly has tabled 2 debates of interest to this portfolio committee, which will be on the 25th of November, which is the 16 days of activism debate. And on the 2nd of December, the Minister of Women in the Presidency will make a statement on disability rights matters. So those are 2 debates that we also need to take note of. So I just wanted to make sure honourable members are aware of what we are doing for the remainder of the term. Can I see if there are any further inputs from colleagues at this stage? Okay. Colleagues, I wish to, yes, Honourable Chauke Adonis.
Sorry, Chair, I was just raising my hand just to move to adopt the amended program.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chauke Adonis. Can I take a seconder?
I second, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Shabango. Colleagues, this brings us to the end of our very short meeting. Thank you for your attendance this morning. Thank you for your inputs and guidance. We will see each other in person next week. Mr. Dumizweni will be in contact with you so that you've got access to the CVs and all the relevant information that you have to work through. We will then meet each other next week for shortlisting, whereafter we will meet in the National Assembly for the debate on 16 days of activism. We thank the DM for attending this morning. Colleagues, I thank all of you for your attendance. Thank you very much to our support team, Ms. Abrams, Mr. Dumizweni. Yes?
My apology. I wanted to ask just 10 minutes of your time after you close the in-house meeting, just the members only. Just 5 minutes or so, please.
Okay. Colleagues, thank you very much for your attendance to this meeting. We will then see each other in person next week. And like I said, we will be in touch with all the relevant information. Honourable Shabango has asked that honourable members stay online. So if the other people on the platform, Parliament TV, and all the other stakeholders could exit the platform, then honourable members can remain. Thank you so much for your attendance.
Your secretary can stay, chairperson, is not a problem. Thank you.
Honourable Shabango, over to you.
Chair Ngiyabonga. I hope it's only members and yourself and your secretary.
Sorry, Shabango. The TV is still here and other members.
They must leave us alone at home.